Right, Xabi Alonso is gearing up for a huge game in the Champions League as Real Madrid prepare to face Manchester City tomorrow, with reports that the result could make or break his time as head coach. Let's go back live to Madrid and rejoin our reporter Ben Ransom. Hello again, Ben. It appears there's plenty at stake for Alonso quite early in his career as the head coach of Real. How did he seem in his pre-match news conference earlier?
It's been fascinating, honestly, to be here in the city of Madrid and just hear just how big a storm there is swirling around. I mean, I've been here on a number of occasions to watch Champions League matches, to cover Champions League matches and to cover the kings of Europe in Real Madrid. I've never known a situation around a manager quite like this. I think there's a lot of people here in Madrid that fully expect Xabi Alonso's time as manager of Real to be coming towards its end, and potentially that end could even come as soon as tomorrow when they host Manchester City. The suggestion is that a loss in that game off the back of this torrid run that's seen them win just 2 of their last 7 in all competitions, 1 of their last 5 in La Liga, including defeat at the weekend by Celta Vigo at home in front of a jeering, whistling crowd at the Bernabeu. That could be enough to ultimately seal the fate of Xabi Alonso. Reports are that after that game, that defeat on Sunday, the board met long into the night at the Bernabeu to discuss what they were going to do. I think the difficulty comes from a Real Madrid perspective in the sense that they don't really have anywhere to turn in terms of replacing him. I'm told Zinedine Zidane is not an option. He's expected to take up the role of France national manager in the summer, so they're not expecting him to be available. That would only really leave perhaps Alvaro Arbeloa, who is currently coaching Real Madrid B team, but equally is a similar kind of coach to Xabi Alonso, his former teammate. So that's a really tricky situation for them in that sense. But it may be that his situation becomes untenable. In terms of his performance at the press conference, I think he did really well. He was clearly wanting to sit there full of confidence and just emphasise how together the squad is. There was a fantastic moment. You can imagine lots of the questions were from various Spanish media outlets in Spanish. One particular Spanish reporter asked him if he still believed he had the belief in the squad and they were all behind him. And he literally said, sí, yes, that was it. End of sentence. So he was clearly keen to stress that point. But he did speak to us in English as well. Myself and a couple of the travelling contingent managed to get some questions to him about the difficulties he's had in terms of changing the Real Madrid culture, a club that traditionally relies a lot on key players, big name players, big personalities, and ultimately player power. And I asked him whether actually facing Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, a man because of his Barcelona connections is not exactly popular in this city, whether he's the perfect opponent, because actually a win would really boost his individual popularity amongst the Real Madrid fans. So massive game for Xabi Alonso tomorrow night, and this is what he had to say about the prospect of facing Guardiola and the axe potentially looming over his neck.
The next one is the best one, so you need to face it, and not just myself. I think that the players and the fans, everyone knows because they have faced against City so many times for the last years. What we are expecting, but for sure it's a big challenge. But I see as an opportunity at the moment. It's not about changing; it's about adapting, because I knew pretty well the culture of Real Madrid. That's why it's the biggest club in the world, and you need to adapt it, you need to learn from it. And after there is a process. You need to have this interaction with the players, how we want to perform. Some days are good, sometimes are not that good. But from every game, we take steps. And now we are in this position right now. We have to face it with good energy, with positivity. That's the only way to turn it back and to have a better feeling.
So it's an important game for Alonso and for Real Madrid. We're going to hear from Pep Guardiola at 5:45 here on Sky Sports News. Just explain the significance of the game from a Manchester City point of view then.
Look, it's a huge game for them in the context of their Champions League group phase because of that result last time out. It was interesting to hear Eddie Howe 15-20 minutes ago on the programme talking about preparing his team to face Bayer Leverkusen, the team that came to Manchester, faced a City team where Pep made 10 changes and beat them, and City ultimately went from being very secure in the top 8 to just outside of it, and add extra pressure on their final 3 matches in the league phase, starting with possibly the biggest test against, I'm sure, the team that Pep tonight will again call the kings of this competition. It's a team that he knows really, really well, let's not forget, not just from his rivalry when he was at Barcelona, but in recent years in Manchester City. I've almost lost count of the number of times I've been stood here previewing a Champions League match here. I think this is the 5th consecutive season these two teams have met in one way or another. We've seen dramatic last gasp wins for Real Madrid and heartbreak for City. And conversely, we've also seen City play Madrid off the park and dish out the kind of performance and lessons them that they are used to inflicting upon other sides back in 2023 when City absolutely thrashed them as they were en route to the treble and lifting the trophy for the first time. So in the context of the league phase, it's big for both teams. For City, they come here, I think, full of belief they can get a result. Pep certainly has felt as though his team have started to turn a corner. He's seen enough in their performances in recent weeks to think they can trouble Real Madrid, which is in stark contrast to the team that travelled here last year in that playoff round when they took on Real Madrid and ultimately came away from here with a 3-1 loss that actually was quite flattering to Manchester City on that occasion. So look, they come here with more optimism. I think the furore surrounding Xabi Alonso can play one of two ways. It'll either help them in the sense that this is a team in Real Madrid that are short on confidence. It may be something that galvanises them, but I think it'll be really interesting to hear what Pep says about that, whether he can indeed fend off all of the questions around Xabi Alonso, because I'm pretty certain that when we sit down with him at around 5:45 your time, plenty of the Spanish contingent here in Madrid will like to get his thoughts on the situation surrounding his opposite number in the dugout tomorrow.